Questions for pastors when searching for a church, part 2, 7 questions last Sunday, and I start with question number 8 today. Ask pastor, question number 8, please interpret the Noahic Covenant, the covenant God gave to Noah. Please interpret the Noahic Covenant. The reason that's so important is because the Noahic Covenant is probably the most neglected and forgotten of all of God's covenants that he made with men throughout the ages. About the only thing that Christians know about the Noahic Covenant is there's a rainbow in the sky. God promised that he wouldn't destroy the earth with water. That's about the extent of everything that anybody knows about the Noahic Covenant. But the Noahic Covenant is absolutely essential, in my mind, to the understanding of liberty and God's natural laws relating to liberty. I brought a message not too many months ago, the Noahic Covenant, the Magna Carta of our natural liberties. If you've not watched this, I challenge you, I urge you to get this and watch it. Because what the Noahic Covenant did was it established for all time the natural law principles of liberty under which all men are required to live by God. The elements of that natural law under the Noahic Covenant are, number 1, the establishment of God's natural laws that created the natural rights of man for the possession of lands, properties, ownership, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the privilege and the honor of ownership, the ownership of property, the ownership of land, the ownership of those things that are so important to the rights of free men are not just a luxury. They're not just a privilege. They are a right established for the human race under the laws of God. When any would-be tyrant tries to take away a man's right to own property, to own land, he is attempting to circumvent and destroy the liberty and the right, capital R, that was bequeathed to us by our Creator God. That makes that politician a tyrant. He's not just a bad politician. He's a tyrant because he's trying to usurp the authority of God. Private ownership is a right invested in God's creation by the Creator, which means this is a right directly from the Creator to the creature, mankind. Therefore, this is not a right bequeathed to us by government. No more than the right to keep and bear arms, that I'm going to get to in a minute, is a right bequeathed by government. No. Government does not give us the right to keep and bear arms. God gives us the right to keep and bear arms. Government's responsibility is simply to protect the right given us by God, which is what the Second Amendment to our Constitution does. The same thing is true of private property ownership. In the Constitution, where it says that all men are created equal, that they are created with inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When you go back and you look at the original manuscripts that were written by the founders, which led to Jefferson's Declaration, the final product. That word, pursuit of happiness, they had in mind the ownership of private property, the happiness of being able to own private property. For hundreds and thousands of years, the feudal systems of Europe denied private property ownership to the serfs unless they would give X number of years or maybe a lifetime of slavery to the master. Then you might, in his generosity, have a little title to a little corner of a piece of land, and that was considered benevolent by the lord or the owner of the property. So for thousands of years, private property ownership was not known by people generally. Only the very rich and the very powerful, the elite, the kings and the lords and the families thereof, etc., were entitled to property. You had to be a rich man to be a property owner. But in the United States, our founding document was written with the idea that the common man, the average worker in America, had a God-given right to own property, and the government should not get in his way from owning that bequeathment. Number two, the prohibition of cruelty, savagery, torture, anarchy, and totalitarianism. All of this is included in the Noahic Covenant. And again, I go over that in the message that I talked to you about a minute ago. The prohibition of cruelty, savagery, torture, anarchy, and totalitarianism. What is going on in America today in this phony COVID pandemic is nothing short of an attempted establishment of a totalitarian regime, not only in the United States, but around the world. And I'm going to get to that in detail in this message in just a few moments. But the Noahic Covenant prohibits all of the above. It prohibits cruelty. Therefore, in our Constitution, it is put in there that there should be no cruel and unusual punishment in this country. Now, that's not always kept, unfortunately, because a lot of times there's a lot of cruel and unusual punishment going on, but it shouldn't be. Savagery, torture, anarchy, totalitarianism is all prohibited under the Noahic Covenant. So anytime a government, whether it's local, state, or federal, or regional, or international, doesn't matter what form of government it is, any form of government that attempts to establish a totalitarian system over man is a violation of the Noahic Covenant that God has given to men, and therefore usurps the authority of God over our lives as His creatures. And that's the thing that many Christians don't understand. Many Christians that just bow down to all these tyrannical laws and mandates, and at the same time they go to church on Sunday and they think they're worshiping God. When you accept the tyrant's usurpation of your God-given liberties, you are no longer worshiping God, you are worshiping the tyrant. And you need to repent of that and worship God in truth and in righteousness. And number three, the Noahic Covenant speaks of the right of individual self-defense and the establishment of jurisdictional civil government. All of this is under the Noahic Covenant. The right of individual self-defense and establishment of jurisdictional civil government. So if you have not watched this DVD, please do. The Noahic Covenant, the Magna Carta of our natural liberties.